What if I told you that a woman can detect your weakness before you open your mouth, before you speak your name, before you know hers? She feels it, not because she's psychic, but because she's biologically programmed to scan for strength, not in your muscles, but in your emotional calibration, your posture, your energy signature. You might not notice it, but she does. The way your eyes shift too quickly, the hesitation in your voice, the way you yield space instead of claiming it. It's not surface level, it's primal coding. And when you violate it, her attraction dies in silence. Because weakness isn't what you think it is. It's not about failure. It's not about mistakes. It's about misalignment with your masculine core. You think you're being nice. She feels you're being hollow. You think you're avoiding conflict. She sees a man terrified of being real. You think you're being passionate. She sees emotional instability. But today, you end the confusion. You're going to see the 7 unconscious signals that tell a woman, this man is not yet rooted, not yet ready, not yet him. These signs don't just kill attraction, they disintegrate respect, the currency your masculinity cannot survive without. But once you see them, you'll never unknow what she already feels. Every point is extremely important to understand, especially the last one. Let's begin. Sign number 1, you seek constant validation. She can sense it before you even speak, before you finish your sentence, before your compliment lands. Your eyes already betrayed the truth. Please tell me I'm enough. And the second she feels that, you're done. Not because she's cold, not because she's cruel, but because biology won't let her trust a man who needs her permission to exist. This is called external locus of control. A man whose self-worth doesn't come from his core, but from the outside, from her praise, from her smile, from her reaction. She says you look good today, your mood lifts. She takes longer to reply, you spiral. She doesn't say thank you. You doubt your entire value. And in that moment, you collapse into the softest form of weakness, the man who is only strong when approved. You fish for compliments. You shape-shift your opinions to avoid friction. You text, wait, refresh, obsess, not because you care, but because you need her to say who you are. And the moment she feels that, she steps out of your frame and into her masculine, and you become the one she now mothers or ignores. Epictetus said, seek not the good in external things, seek it within yourselves. Validation is a drug, and if you're addicted, you hand her the remote control to your worth. But the Stoic man? He doesn't need applause to know he's aligned. He moves according to internal metrics. Did I act with courage today? Did I tell the truth, especially when it was uncomfortable? Did I show up in discipline, even when no one saw? If the answer is yes, he needs no one's permission to be powerful. And that's the paradox. The less you need her validation, the more she becomes drawn to your energy. Because now, you're the signal, not the seeker. Sign number 2, you avoid conflict at all costs. You think being agreeable makes you more likable, more wanted, more safe. You nod when you disagree. You say, it's fine when it's not. You apologize before you understand what went wrong. But here's what you don't realize. Every time you swallow your truth to keep the peace, you silently train her to never respect you again. Psychologists call it submissive communication. The man who suppresses his own needs, not because he's kind, but because he's afraid. Afraid of tension, afraid of disapproval, afraid of losing her. And that fear, it leaks through your smile. It vibrates in your posture. It seeps into your silence like poison into still water. She feels it, even when you think you're doing the right thing. And no woman respects a man she has to emotionally babysit, because conflict isn't destruction. Conflict is truth in motion, and a man who can't hold that tension can never lead. Marcus Aurelius said, "The object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding yourself in the ranks of the insane." You weren't built to nod your way into irrelevance. You were built to carry fire in your voice, not to burn, but to illuminate. So what does strength look like? You express your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You correct misalignment without exploding or retreating. You say no, not with fear, but with calm finality. Because a man who cannot say no has already said yes to being forgotten. Assertiveness isn't aggression. It's the clarity of a grounded masculine frame. And when she feels that, her nervous system relaxes, her energy softens. She stops testing and starts trusting, not because you're dominant, but because you're centered. Sign number 3, you can't control your emotions. You think she's leaving because of your words, but it's not what you said, it's what you couldn't contain. Your anger, your jealousy, your anxiety disguised as neediness. She didn't feel safe, not because you threatened her, but because you couldn't even control yourself. When a man is ruled by his emotions, he becomes the boy who never finished growing. The child in a man's body, tense, reactive, unpredictable. And you might think, at least I'm being real. But here's the truth. Authenticity without mastery is just chaos. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's the key. Most men don't suffer from what's happening. They suffer from what they think it means. She took longer to text. You spiral into insecurity. She talks to another man. You burn with jealousy. She criticizes something. You get defensive or shut down. And in those moments, you think you're expressing truth. But what she sees is fragility. A man who has no anchor, no center. A storm that infects the room and demands someone else keep him stable. But she wasn't built to carry your nervous system. That's your job. So how do you reclaim control? When emotion hits, pause, breathe, observe it like a distant wave. You are not the reaction. You are the container for it. And that's when it shifts. A man who can stay grounded in emotional chaos triggers something ancient in her. Safety. Not the kind of safety that protects from danger, but the kind that frees her from the burden of leading you. And in that space, attraction becomes effortless. Because the man who holds his fire doesn't burn her, he awakens her. Sign number 4, you talk more than you act. A lion doesn't need to explain he's a lion. He moves, and the jungle rearranges itself. But you talk about what you'll do. You talk about what you could be. You talk about who you were supposed to become. And with every sentence, she hears the same thing. You haven't done it. See, words are cheap. In fact, they're valueless without the weight of action behind them. And when you flood the air with future promises, bold declarations, and dreamy hypotheticals, you're not inspiring her. You're broadcasting your own doubt. Psychologists call this impression management, the performance of competence when authentic power is missing. You talk, not to communicate, but to convince. Not her, yourself. If I just say it enough, maybe I'll believe I'm already him. But she knows the difference. Women are biologically tuned to sense incongruence, when a man's mouth and mission aren't in alignment. So what does this look like? You speak of goals, but never move toward them. You boast, but your life offers no proof. You sell potential, but deliver stagnation. And here's the brutal truth. The more you talk, the more invisible you become. Because men who truly build don't narrate their progress. They embody it. They're not loud. They're not flashy. They're undeniable. And that is what women are drawn to like gravity. So ask yourself, would you follow you? Would she? If not, be silent. Build in the dark. Return with receipts. Because the man who moves in silence and returns with undeniable proof doesn't just win her attraction, he earns her reverence. Sign number 5, you blame others for your problems. There is no faster way to repel a woman's soul than to blame others for your life. You think she doesn't notice, that it's just venting or being honest. But to her, every excuse is a neon sign that screams, I am not the author of my reality. I am a passenger in someone else's car. You point fingers. You say it was your boss, your parents, your ex, the market, the timing, the betrayal. And she hears none of that. She hears, I cannot lead myself through chaos. I crumble when life stops playing fair. And in that instant, her nervous system shuts off to you. Because women don't follow the man who narrates his wounds. They follow the man who commands his rebirth. Blame is not just unattractive. It's a betrayal of your own masculine identity. Stoics understood this long ago. It is not things that disturb us, Epictetus said, but our judgments about them. What you judge as unfair, a stronger man converts into fuel. What you call a setback, a grounded man transforms into signal fire. Here's how blame silently bleeds your power. You complain about your job, but take no action to evolve. You curse your past relationships, but refuse to face your own patterns. You whisper about bad luck, instead of building better discipline. And here's the cruel twist. Blame gives you the illusion of comfort, while robbing you of all progress. The man who blames dies a little every day. The man who owns everything becomes untouchable. Because when you accept radical responsibility for your choices, your moods, your reality, you become unstoppable. Not perfect, not immune to failure, but untouchable in the eyes of anyone watching, especially women. Because the man who takes ownership is the man who can take the lead, and that is the only man she'll ever truly follow. Sign number 6, you struggle to say no. A man who cannot say no is not generous, he is unguarded. And to a woman's subconscious mind, that is dangerous, not for her safety, for yours. Because when you agree to things you don't want, when you smile while swallowing resentment, when you offer your time, energy, and attention like a boy desperate to be chosen, she doesn't see kindness. She sees collapse. She sees a man who cannot protect himself, and therefore cannot protect her. You think saying yes to everything makes you likable, but what it makes you is predictable and expendable. Boundaries are not walls that push love away. They are gates that filter what enters your kingdom. And when your gate is always open, the world doesn't thank you. It exploits you. Women test this unconsciously. They ask, they push, they bend you, not out of malice, but to see if there is anything in you that holds. Because only a man who knows his limits can be trusted with her deepest vulnerabilities. Here's how weakness shows up. You say yes to every favor, even when it costs you. You attend events you hate just to avoid disappointing someone. You let your time be hijacked by anyone with a request. Each time you do this, you chip away at your masculine presence, and she feels it, not just in her mind, in her body. Her attraction retracts. A man who cannot say no, she feels, will say yes to anything, even things that betray us both. Now here's the shift. A powerful man doesn't say no with anger. He says no with calm conviction. That doesn't align with my priorities. Not this time. I need space for something more important. And when a man speaks like that, everything changes. Her respect deepens. Your presence hardens. The world begins to orbit you instead of pulling you off course. Sign number 7, you lack purpose. There is no force more magnetic than a man in motion towards something greater. And there is no repellent more invisible than a man drifting without direction. You think she doesn't notice? She feels it. In your posture, in your pauses, in the emptiness between your words. A man without purpose is like a ship at sea with no stars to follow. He drifts, he delays, he disappears. And to a woman's ancient nervous system, a man who is still is a man who cannot lead, not because he's evil, but because he is lost. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be famous. You need a vector, something that burns in you, even when no one claps. Something you'd pursue in the dark with no audience, no praise, no reward. Purpose is not a job title. It's not a dollar sign. It is your internal compass, the North Star that sharpens every step you take. Without it, you are soft, not in muscle, in mission. And softness in mission breeds softness in masculinity. She may still speak to you. She may still smile, but she will never surrender to you, because surrender is not given to comfort. It is given to conviction. Here's how lack of purpose leaks through. You binge content, but never build anything. You float between hobbies, jobs, and goals. You speak of someday, but never act on now. You fill your hours with women and distraction, but none of it fills you, and she senses this, the hollowness, the aimlessness, the echo of a man who was meant for more, but chose silence instead. But here's the shift. The moment you lock into purpose, everything transforms. Your voice deepens with weight. Your eyes sharpen with direction. Your presence becomes charged, like a storm is coming and you're the lightning. Women feel this. The room feels this. You feel this. Because a man on a mission isn't waiting for life to start. He's already moving, already leading, already building a reality worth inviting her into. And in that moment, she doesn't just want you. She wants to follow you. There it is, the 7. 7 silent fractures that shatter male presence without a word. 7 subtle patterns that turn kings into ghosts. But now, you see them, and once seen, they cannot be unseen. You eliminate them. You reforge identity. You walk again with heat in your spine. If this transmission burned truth into your chest, like, comment, subscribe to the Stoic Architect. We don't chase influence here. We become it. Stay focused, stay forged, and return for the next signal, because the next spell will rewrite the man you thought you were.